I'm Ted Keys in Pasadena, California. Welcome to my Tuesday conference call, a free high-powered meeting I hold live every Tuesday for top producing freight agents. Go to tedkeysonline.com for complete call information. Then join us weekly to see new, serious, struggling, and experienced sales professionals move more freight efficiently, effectively, effortlessly, and make more money financially. So watch my recorded call topic highlighted there on your screen right now. When you're finished, go to tedkeysonline.com and hear more podcasts. Read more blog posts, watch more videos, and while you're there, visit my Freight Sales Success Store for top-notch freight moving products to explode your business today. Enjoy watching and applying my Tuesday conference call.
Hello and welcome everybody to my Tuesday conference call. Ted Keys, your host and top freight agent training expert here in Southern California. This is a free high-powered meeting I hold live every Tuesday for top producing freight agents at 2 p.m. Pacific time and 5 p.m. Eastern time. On the call today, I will show you how to move more freight efficiently, effectively, and effortlessly so you make more money financially. And that is one of our biggest goals in becoming a successful agent, and that is to make more money financially. After the call, go to my website, tedkeysonline.com, to hear more of my podcasts, read more of my blog posts, watch more of my videos, and while you're there at my website, visit my Freight Sales Success Store for top-notch freight-moving products to really explode your business today. When you arrive at my store today, my Freight Sales Success Store, you will see a host of products available there for purchase, products that are already assisting many a freight agent in the industry. The first one you'll see there is my Freight Sales Success Guide. This is typically for beginner and struggling freight agents. However, I do offer it for free when you join our high-producing freight sales office. Next product you'll see there is my Freight Sales Success Quotes, typically to motivate you, get you motivated daily to get on the phone and connect and collaborate and build relationships with the marketplace. Next one you'll see there is my Freight Sales Success Skills. This product assists you in all those little skills that are required to become a successful freight sales agent. You'll also see there for sale my Freight Sales Success Training. This is a 17-video course that will take you from knowing little or nothing about moving freight to moving your first load and beyond. All those products available for sale at my Freight Sales Success Store. And while you're there at my website taking in all this free information, on any page that you're on, just move over to the right and enter your contact details. By doing that, you'll receive your weekly email invite to this and every call. Also, by doing that, you'll receive the free attachments that I provide on every call. Today is my freight sales expert guest, but when I typically do a training, I do provide attachments on each call. And also, just for opting in, I give you my free report, 11 Ways Freight Agents Will Increase Their Income, which has been downloaded thousands of times before. And if you have any questions whatsoever about today's call, whatever it is, but most importantly, just because you got on the call today, are you ready to join our top producing freight sales team? Then give me a call, Ted Keys. I'm at 626-309-9141. Today, I have a good friend and a very special guest, my freight sales expert guest, BRYAN Bentley. BRYAN Bentley from Cottondale, Alabama. BRYAN's coming to you today from Alabama to provide and share with you his 30-plus years of freight sales and freight carrier moving experience. Are you there, BRYAN?
Yes, sir. I surely am.
Awesome, BRYAN. Hey, BRYAN, thanks again for getting on the call today. Just give us a little rundown, even by going back to the beginning when you first got into this industry. When was that, and at what capacity, BRYAN?
When I first started, so Ted and I have spoken a couple of times. I'm a third-generation trucking my whole life revolves around the trucking industry, transportation industry. My grandfather started essentially when he got out of World War II as a freight provider, trucking company out of Georgia, going to California and back every week, carrying carpet out, bringing produce back, and built up to an 85 trucking company that he and my grandmother ran from 1950 all the way up until he retired in 1987. The company's still in existence. It's changed the name, but it's still running successfully in Georgia.
You can say the name if you'd like, Brian.
Seven Hills Trucking out of Cartersville, Georgia is now the company that my grandfather started in 1950.
Yeah, Cartersville. That is north of
Atlanta.
North of Atlanta. Yep. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Go on.
Yes, sir.
So did your father take over after that?
My father he was in Vietnam, and he went into law enforcement. My uncle did. I was supposed to. It kind of skipped a generation. I've got some cousins that was involved in it. I was heavily involved in it because my parents were working all the time, and I stayed with my grandparents. And from the age of 6, I was involved in a truck, helping to change tires, whatever, from age 6 on up, doing whatever my grandfather would have me do. And then that was essentially one of my first jobs. Was on the weekends I would service the trucks and get everything done and save my money, and did what I needed to do there.
Awesome.
I went to the University of Alabama and helped put myself through college as a diesel mechanic. And from a diesel mechanic, I went over into part sales, and from part sales, I went over into truck sales. Then I got crazy and I bought trucks. And in 2002, I was on top of a truck because one of my drivers was sick, and I fell off the top of it and crushed both my ankles. And I had this is where the brokering part comes in. I had lots of bills, 2 young daughters. They're 19 and 20 now. My oldest will be 21 in January. This was in 2002, and it was either do what I know how to do and stay alive. So I started brokering freight, and I did that with Pacer Transport, which is now part of the Universal Amcan family, and that's okay. You know, I don't have any problems with anybody. I predominantly have focused my deal on the carrier side of things because it was always easier for me because of the people that I was around. And understand, I know the ins and the outs from the logistics of what gets a truck going, what it takes to repair a truck, the driver's mentality because I drove a truck myself, to finding the freight, keeping the trucks loaded, and minimizing those areas that drivers tend to fret upon, being deadhead, being miles that they're getting paid for. Some of the guys, they didn't want to go to work for the company I represented, so how did I achieve the success that I got? Because I was at one time a $12 million a year freight agent, trucking agent. And
with Pacer, Brian?
No, I was with a company, the one where I excelled the most was I was with what's now called United Vision Logistics. It was Venture Transport. It was an oil field company down in South Louisiana. Down in their corporate office is in Broussard, Louisiana.
Broussard, right?
And once they merged, and a lot of the companies you're going to notice are merging together even today. It started right after the downfall of the transportation industry in 2009. People started trying to get together, and a lot of the industry has made a significant change in the last 7, going on 8 years now. after the downfall of things in 2009, a lot of people went out of business, a lot of things. And one of the main ways that I was able to succeed, be successful, have growth during that time is I started working an in and an out logistics supply chain that not only did I focus on my freight going out, but I focused on the freight coming back in. I would get with my customers and I say, you know, your freight is paced really good going out, and I can work a deal with you that I can provide you this, a significant savings if you allow me to handle your inbound freight, and I can essentially provide the ins and the outs for all capacity. And a lot of the customers said, hey, that makes a lot of sense. And one of the primary customers that I do it for even today is Nucor Steel. I do a lot with the mills in the Arkansas, Blytheville, Arkansas area. I do a lot with Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and there's some up in Auburn, New York, and several others. And Nucor has bought a lot of different companies, and they've started developing a system called the Nucor freight system, where essentially a truck loads, say, let's use Blytheville for an example. Loads in Blytheville, Arkansas, and it goes to Blytheville, Arkansas. That is correct.
Yep.
And it goes to, say, Jacksonville, Florida. The truck will then, because of some other avenues of success there, they have got a company that manufactures their ladle bottoms for their molten pots and all. In Thomasville, Georgia, a truck can deadhead essentially 112 miles, grab a load that goes right back up to Blytheville, and they're getting significant savings on it. It's essentially becoming a milk run. You go down and you grab something and you come right back, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to partner with guys that you know, you trust, that's looking for the good freight. You're providing a service for them, and you turn around and you say, look, not only am I going to provide you with some outbound freight here, but I'm going to give you a chance to get on some dedicated freight so that you know what you're doing every week. And we're essentially building a partnership. We're running like a machine. It's essential for you to rely on me, and it's essential for me to rely on you. And it builds into a substantial partnership where everybody's making money, and you can pretty well set your day. Well, I've got these guys going to take care of this. When they get to where they're going, I have built a relationship, be it with the customer or a service provider that's going back to one of my customers, coming back. So I'm keeping that truck loaded. He's remaining captive to my freight options, and I'm keeping more money on the books. I'm keeping trucks loaded and happy to do what needs to be done. And everybody is essentially happy with everything that's going on, and you have made attaboys versus the all S's, and you kept a truck loaded, you kept your customers happy, your customers know that they can depend on you, you got people that's working, and with the team in place, you got that. And not only do you have to do it where it's just so much your way, one of the things that I started working on and developing with an infrastructure across the United States with a lot of my agents, I'm in business development with a company called Cardinal Transport out of Chicago, Illinois. They have made some significant changes, and they bought another company called CR Transport out of Joliet. And everybody, that's a complete owner-operator company, and there has been a lot of turnover. And one of the ways that we try to minimize the turnover is by getting our agents to start working together. Now, I haven't said anything to Ted, and I don't know how you guys feel, but one of the areas that essentially helps you get where you're at, and it works, but you're not looking at just one load here and saying, oh, I can't do that, or one load there, I can't do that.
That's how we usually start, Brian.
Yeah,
as a freight agent.
You're right. I built a network of agents that was willing to work together. And what I mean by that is, say you got a truck that's XYZ or ABC transport, and they heavily rely on you for their freight. All right, and you go over and there's another agent that's working in your network that you know that's got freight, say Richmond, Virginia. I heard Richmond on there coming out of Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City loads a truck over to the Richmond, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia, Baltimore, whatever. And the Norfolk or the Richmond agent says, you know, hey, we're working together, we're on the same team. I've got a load that can help get your driver back to, say, Kansas City, Salt Lake, Denver, whatever, going back towards Salt Lake City. I will do this. I will split the commission with you if you can help me get that truck on that load. And the agents on the backside would kind of split their commissions. They kept that truck happy. That truck knew that they were working in a team. And the same thing when somebody in Richmond sent a truck out to Salt Lake. Hey, I've got a truck headed out there. Can you possibly help me get this truck loaded? And essentially what you're doing is you're starting to network your guys together. And the more that you're around it, I don't know how many of you went to the Mid-America Truck Show or to the Great American Truck Show or going to Nashville.
Brian, I'd venture to say very few on the call have done that. But let me just stop you midstream there.
Sure.
Most of my listening audience are first-time agents, and some have a little experience. How can we network more as agents? I mean, freight broker agents. You just talked about doing a lot of networking as truck agents.
Right.
What
I recommend
suggestions on how to, because it takes a while before you can build up that network, because you got to move some freight first, Brian.
Sure. And the key to this is I connected with Ted on LinkedIn. We've shared some success. One of the things that is essential is, just like you guys are listening to his platform and what has helped him develop into a successful agent, and doing that right there. Yeah, doing that, listening to him, he's developing a following of agents that could start working together. And what I was going to say is, the more that you're around this industry, I've been around as a truck owner, freight agent, because I sold all my trucks. When I fell off the truck, I sold all my trucks and essentially become an independent freight agent. But I would have owner-operators that was running for me, and under my little flag, that I did what needed to be done to keep them loaded. And I kept them loaded both ways, and they essentially relied on me. It's about building a relationship with others in the industry, and the more that you're around this, the more you're going to realize, making phone calls and talking to people, that you have a lot in common, and it's almost like a fraternity or a sorority or a club of sorts. Everybody kind of sort of starts knowing who each other is. And the one thing that can help you and get you where you need to do is, I don't care if you make $1 or if you don't make $1 on the load. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, you got to be a person of your word. Your word is your bond. Everything is about a relationship and built on trust. If your word becomes squat, you're not going to be successful ever. If you tell somebody, you're going to get paid for this, and you're going to get paid for deadhead, you're going to get paid for detention, you're going to get paid whatever, and the customer doesn't want to pay it, if you opened your mouth and said that you're going to get that for them, then if it comes out of your pocket, your credibility means everything. That's the only thing that separates you from XYZ down the street is your bond and your word. And if your word's not worth anything, nobody's going to take freight from you. And it's all about trust.
Nobody wants to end up on a 411 carrier report either.
Exactly.
Do you, Brian, or a freight agent type listing like that? Let's talk about contacting when you went to Pacer, Brian.
Sure.
Let's talk about how did you bring in your customers? Now I do admit you had experience on the truck side prior to that, correct, Brian?
Sure.
And then
correct.
Now we're talking about getting into the broker side, correct?
Right. Just like me.
You crushed your ankles, you sold all your
Exactly.
trucks, and now we're in on the broker side, Brian. But
Sure.
Give us a little insight on how you developed that first business when you were with Pacer. You know, how did you go after some of the customers that you had serviced in the trucking field or the trucking arena?
Exactly.
Did you go after brand new prospects, Brian?
This is essentially what I did was, here I've got 2 kids, a wife, and I'm sweating. I've got all these bills coming at me. What am I going to do? How am I going to take care of? All I know is trucking. I don't know any. I'm super smart when it comes to trucking. I'm super smart when it comes to business. But the only business I understand is the trucking industry. Mm-hmm. So I picked up the phone and I started making phone calls. If I knew somebody that was a shipping clerk or a shipping customer of any sort, I called them first. I made a list. Look, I don't have the trucks anymore, but I've got people that I've ran around with that's going to work with me. They're going to help me take care of you as just like I did when I had my trucks. Can we continue to work together? And I'm prioritized, and the ones that I knew already had a relationship with, that's the ones that I went to first. And then I went to the ones that were recommended to me by somebody that I knew. I kept a warm call. It wasn't about going out for cold calls. And then I worked that list. And then once I got down through that, and it was down to, I had no other choice but to start making cold calls. Mm-hmm. Then I started, and this is back when the internet was in its infancy. Mm-hmm. I would go out and I would find out who those people are. I would I would call and I would strike up a conversation with the receptionist or whoever answered the phone and said and try to get as much information before asking to be handed off, because then I had somebody there that knew who Bryan Bentley was, and it wasn't so much about being a cold call. If I develop a relationship, look, nobody is more important than the next. Everybody is essential to each other in the survival of this. So if you get in and you start sweet talking, smoothing those, and finding out, getting as much information about a company as you can from whoever, and say, well, if you don't know, can you put me in touch with somebody that does? And you learn as much about the business, and you can do a lot of that now by going online and reading about that business. You want to know it, everything that you possibly can about a customer prior to going into that customer, or you want to get in and you want to start talking to those people, and you'll be surprised how much information you can attain by asking a few strategic questions and then sitting back and listening. They will give you all the information that you need so that you can go in and sit down, or not even so much go in, but pick up the phone, make a phone call and say, look, I've been talking to so-and-so within your company. They've told me a lot about it. I've done some research, and here, this is what I can do for you. Mm-hmm. Would you give me an opportunity to start moving your freight? Mm-hmm. You start developing a relationship there, and like I said, never lie to your customer. I don't care how bad it is. You stay on top of
how new you are.
Exactly.
Or how new you are. Go ahead, Brian.
And you let them know, and you let them see that you're hungry for the business. Now, look, they're not going to go out and open their doors and say, here, you got access to everything here. You got to build.
Here's all my free juicy loads.
You know,
my free juicy high-paying loads.
those are not going to be offered to you to begin with. You're going to be given some of the ones that they have difficulty moving, and some of the ones that they've got a surplus of here. Or you got to go in and you say, look, I work on specific, very difficult to deal with loads. I do what I need to do here so that I'm going to show you that I'm going to pay close attention to detail. That I'm going to make sure that I'm partnered with you. I'm going to give you what time the truck's going to be there, what time they think it's going to deliver, and I'm going to give you a daily report of what's going on with that truck that shows that you're in a partnership with them. They may not want all of that information, but if you train yourself to do that, that's going to breed success within you because it shows that you're paying close attention to detail, and that is what's the most significant thing. Because if you get into what's called JIT, just-in-time freight, it is essential, it's imperative that you have communication going on with everybody because that is a time-sensitive load. And you'll see, well, it's a JIT load. Well, what does JIT mean? It means just in time. You've got to get it there, and you've got to have somebody there that's safe, they're doing their job and going to make sure. And that's essential, and you're that pivot point or the keystone of making that whole transaction successful, from pickup to delivery, and the driver knowing what's going on. Those are imperative, and those are the things that start getting you to those honey loads, those sweet high dollar paying freight loads that you get that you can make
a lot of money on.
You can make a lot of money on.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you do what you got to do there, and you get it all taken care of, and then those loads just develop, and then it keeps a domino effect till you get to where you're making the big money, and they're sending you load after load after load. It's going to be easy for you to move. You're building that relationship. You're letting them know that you have got what it takes to get the job done, and they're not worried about it anymore.
Brian, does all that happen right away, where you hold that first challenging load and then they give you all the sweet loads?
No. It takes time, and I'm going to tell you what. We're talking about this right here. I had developed a relationship with a customer, and this is when I was doing brokering, and I had other agents involved in that, and I had a guy that had drove a truck for me that was doing dispatch. My customer called up, I need 2 trucks. He starts talking to the customer, and they get off on socializing. This is a Friday afternoon, and these loads they are JIT loads, and they've got a load over the weekend to be a specific point on Monday. Well, they got to talking, and he forgot to write all the information down, and come Monday, those loads were still sitting in the floor. The dispatcher didn't know what he had forgot to do with it. He calls up and says, hey, are you so-and-so? No, I'm still sitting at home waiting on my load. And then about that time, he gets a call from the customer. The loads are still sitting here on the floor. And then he has to pick up the phone and call me and tell me that he's forgot to get the trucks in there, and we got a major problem. I went from moving $17,000 a week in freight to none. Instantaneously because of a failure.
Just like that.
Just like that. And it took me 2 years to build up to that, and I lost it all in one afternoon. So you got to make sure that you stay on top of your game, and you do what you say you're going to do, and you follow up, and it's imperative that you do a checks and balance, and that you don't on Friday. So many people in this industry on Friday afternoon at 12 o'clock, I'm done for the day. I'm going to go. You would be surprised how many people get dropped in the grease late Friday afternoon. I got to have a truck. XYZ's dropped. They've had an accident. Their driver's sick, or he's just not showing up. I got to have it. You can make more money on a late Friday afternoon than you could ever imagine if you'll just be accessible and you have you some trucks that you know that you can count on, and you hold out, you'd be surprised. You can get 20 to 25% more minimum if you're on those situations, because I got a load. It's hot. It's really hot, and it's got to get there. And you put it out there, and on Internet Truck Stop, that 360, whatever, you got the load. They pick up the phone. It's going to cost. We're going to pay you $5 a mile, and you sell it for $3 a mile. The driver looks like he's crazy. He's crazy for it, and you've made yourself a home run. He's made some money, and everybody's happy, and that load is delivered Monday just like they need it to be.
Hey, Brian, what's the best way to be accessible, the absolute best way to be accessible Friday afternoon after 12 o'clock? How do you let your prospects know that hey, you're still working and you're ready to take on the challenging loads that are still sitting there in their warehouse? What's the best way?
Well, this is the way I've always done things. I was loading trucks while I was about to go into a doctor's office. I was loading trucks while I was in transit to one of my daughter's recitals. You have a cell phone. You have an office phone that forwards to your cell phone. You have where you get your emails on your phone, and you have the alerts. And all of your customers, you say, look, I'm accessible 24 hours a day. I was in the oil field business. I was always accessible by the phone. I had my ringtone set to where when it was one of my customers, my best customers, it had a special ringtone, and I was up and doing whatever it took to get the job done. If you go that extra mile and show these people that you're going to do it, 9 times out of 10, the shipping clerk's going to say, look, I've got, and a lot of these companies already know that they've got loads that's going to be like that, and they just don't up and fall apart and come. They know ahead of time. If you got the relationship,
they plan for it, Brian.
Exactly. And if you got that, if you build up to that relationship with your customer, bingo. Hey, I've got 9 loads that's going to load late Friday afternoon. I can pay you extra if you can make sure that you got a truck that'll hold over to pick up these 9 loads. It's got to be in Oklahoma, or it's got to be wherever. It doesn't matter. North Dakota, anywhere in the world. And we'll pay you extra to do it. Well, then you get on the internet, on the phone with whoever. If you've got trucks that you're dealing with by phone, you get on the phone and say, look, I got 9 loads coming up the end of this week. We're going to load you to where these 9 loads are, and we're going to get you there, and I'm going to be able to pay you extra money if you'll just hold over and grab them and go. And it gives you a chance to be a hero in the driver's eyes, be a hero in your customer's eye, and set yourself up to make some significant money on the backside of things, because you have done your homework and you've stayed in touch with all of these people that are doing what needs to be done.
Yeah.
It works out tremendously in your favor. And the key to all of this is, and I'm sure Ted has drilled this into you guys already. If not, then let me drill it into you. Communication is essential to survival and to success. You have got to be sure that you have lines of communication available to you, a cell phone that works, a landline that works.
Are you there, Brian?
Yeah, yes. I had somebody come up to my desk.
Yeah, and let's face it, Brian. Brian, let's face it. Most freight agents, I mean, even when they get an email, they'll blow it off until, if it's Friday, they'll blow it off until Monday. You know, it's the ones that are really astute, and they respond. They pick up the phone. They pick up the phone not only to answer the phone, but also to call for those loads that have been dropped in the grease. It's those agents that stand out, and it's shipping decision makers notice who the good agents are and who the flaky ones are.
And just like what you were just mentioning, even though let's say that let's just use Nucor is an example. You've built up a relationship with, we'll use Janet Moody. She's over at the Nucor Hickman Mill. And you guys are welcome to give her a call anytime, and you ask her, does she know Bryan Bentley? She'll tell you right. He's a man of his word. He'll do everything he tells you he'll do. But it took me a long time to get there. So, and I'm not even a freight agent anymore. I have built up. I do essentially what Ted's doing for trucking companies and all like that. So what I'm telling you is, say you don't get an email because Janet has gotten busy because she's got a major catastrophe going on. She's got 4 trucks that were supposed to be here, and she doesn't, and she's frantic, she's trying to get on the phone to find out what's going on. You pick up the phone and say, hey, Janet, have you got anything? I've got some trucks in your area. Excuse my French. Hell yeah, I got 4 trucks that didn't show up, and I've got to do this. Can you help me? I got you taken care of. Give me 15 minutes and your problem solved. Because she was frantic and doing everything that she needed to do, trying to get all that. She didn't know anything. Next thing you know, you just pulled her out of the grease with 4 trucks. And then guess what? You got an attaboy. The next time she's got a big project, she's going to call you and say, I got this big project coming up.
Coming straight to you, Bryan.
She's coming straight to me, and guess what? She's going to say, now some of this is going to be bidded. So I need you to be ready when I open up the bid market on it, because a lot of their inbound freight is bid market.
Right. Right.
This is where I need you to be. I need you to be at this price.
So
I need you to be here.
She's actually telling you where you can and should be.
Exactly.
Because you provided this outstanding service to her beforehand, Bryan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when you build up to those kind of relationships, you know that you're starting to achieve success. It's not about making money. Money is the
after effect.
To it.
Money is the effect of you building the relationship.
Exactly. You've got a relationship where you know that, hey, guess what? Everybody gets those attaboys during the summertime, but come the wintertime when everybody's struggling to make it, those attaboys that you took care of them when times were good, if you can do those when their times are bad and slow, and you can continue to provide them service.
Yep. Bryan is still moving freight in the wintertime.
You're moving freight when everybody else is sitting around twiddling their thumb, and guess what? You're still making money.
Yeah. Bryan, let me divert to another question. How valuable is it for a driver and his experience when they consider becoming a freight agent?
This is one of the best questions that you could have.
Driving experience
you could have asked
for a truck driver that's considering becoming a freight agent?
A truck driver becoming a freight agent. That mentality that truck driver has is going to be imperative, because he learns the geography. He understands where that truck's got to pick up, where it's delivering to. Is he putting him into a hot spot, or is he putting him into no man's land? If he's putting him into no man's land, he's got to start pricing that freight, because he knows that truck's going into no man's land, and it's going to be hard for him to get out. Or he's got it set up that when he gets that guy to no man's land, he's got him a backhaul back. Now he's done some.
Where would be no man's land?
Salt Lake City is one of the worst areas that you could go to. Another area is Denver, Colorado. It is not truck friendly. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, but there's a lot of stuff that goes in, but very little goes out. Well, guess what?
It's sweet going in. It's barren coming out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the state of Alabama is known for having great paying freight going out, but there's nothing coming in here. And you say, well, how's that? Well, a lot of the stuff, and I'm going to ask you this, Ted. I want you to tell me, who is your biggest competition in the trucking industry? Is it another trucking company, or is it the railroad and the barges?
Railroad, barges,
Exactly. Your competition is not another trucking company. It's not another freight agent that's in the trucking business. When they put it on a rail, guess what? They have taken that job away from you, and they've taken away from all of the trucking companies out there and put it on a rail. So you want to show them that you got that, and a truck driver has got that mentality. I know what it's going to take to move that load. I can get it there efficiently. It's not going to take 2 weeks, and we're going to move it just like it needs to be moved. And guess what? You're going to get an attaboy from these people, because right now it's not the best thing to do by putting it on a rail. It costs more because fuel prices are down. As long as the fuel prices are down, they're going to put as much as they possibly can on the trucks and get it there fast and effective.
Right.
And they know what they got going on. So when you say about a truck driver going in as a freight agent, I don't know of one truck driver out there that doesn't make a ton of friends and a lot of contacts while he's driving up and down the road, because why? He wants somebody to talk to while he's going down the road, and he'll get on his CB radio and he'll key up the mic. And anybody out there, and then you start talking, and you start building these relationships with these guys that are out there, and you stop at these truck stops, and you're sitting there and you're having your meal, and you're trying to make your phone calls to family and friends, and all this. This is back before cell phones were the most happening thing, and all. You still do your phones and all. But two things happen with these drivers. They're either going to start talking to their buddies out on the road, and their buddies out on the road, where did you get that load at? Oh, I got it from John. He's my logistics coordinator. He provides me all my freight, and we're moving down the road, and can I get their number? And hey, he used to be a truck driver. I used to know him. He drove a truck with me years and years ago. You'd be surprised how small this world is. Yep. And then when you start doing that and all, then these drivers are going to call in and say, look, I know this isn't an area that you normally have freight, but guess what? I'm going to this area, and do you remember back in the day you had a contact? Can you give me that contact, or can you make a phone call and see if you can help me get that load? Because you're starting to develop relationships almost instantaneously. If you and ladies, I'm going to tell you right now, if you sweet talk these truck drivers and you let them know that you care about them, you've got an advantage over the men, hands down. I don't mean to be sounding sexist. It's not about being sexist.
Don't apologize, Brian.
It's about they're wanting somebody kind and tender-hearted on the phone to listen to them, because they're away from their homes, they're away from their family. It's voyeuristic, if you will, in talking to them and saying, oh, hey, sweet baby, I feel your pains and all. If they think that you care about them and that you're going to break your back for them, because I'm telling you, it's essential in getting you where you. And I'm not saying that you're crossing any lines or that you're promising them something that you're not going to deliver. It's just a kind voice on the other end of the phone. It's listening to them and understanding where they're coming from. And if you've been in the transportation industry and you're trying to get them the most money for their buck that they can, and still take care of your family too, then you do that. And what I mean by that is you try to get $2.60 a mile, and you sell it to them for $2.10 a mile, and you make 50 cents a mile off of that load. Everybody's winning, and you're letting them know, and then you continue to do that, and then the next night, well, I couldn't get it for $2.10 a mile, but I've got it down to it's $1.90 a mile this week. Can you do it for that? Well, because you've shown them that you can that you're doing
the freight,
that,
Brian.
And you got the freight. You got it, and normally I wouldn't take that, but because it's you and I trust you, hey, I'm right here. Well, guess what? The next thing you know, you're going to be able to start moving that freight for $1.90 a mile, and you're buying it, you're getting it from your customer for $2.60 a mile, and everybody's making them money, and the drivers know that you're taking care of them. The customer knows that you're taking care of them, and your family's sleeping well at night.
So trustworthiness, Brian, is king.
Exactly.
Awesome. I want you to speak to that truck driver out there that has been driving for, who knows, 10, 20 years. See, I get a lot of individuals like that come to me, Brian. They're drivers, and they've heard how well freight agents can do. They've heard how well they can do, but they're scared to make that jump from being a driver to an agent, Brian.
Right.
Talk to that individual that's on the fence, and they won't get off the fence. They want to stay in their comfort zone, but let's face it, if they're going to make their family more money, they understand that they've got to make that move. Talk to that driver that is on the fence. Just let them know. Just let them know how much their experience lends itself to becoming a successful freight agent.
Everybody that has been in the trucking industry that becomes a broker, becomes something like that, they tend to understand the industry more. They understand the mentality of the drivers that are out there. They understand the geographics that goes behind it. They understand what the truck's got to do to get down the road from point A to point B, and if they have a breakdown, one of the things that's imperative to them that, hey, I'm going to do this right here. You break down, I'm just a freight agent, but guess what? I know so-and-so down the road that works on trucks, and I can help you there. You show them that you have a heart and that you're willing to be in a partnership with them, because if you've been on the road, and a lot of times I set people up, when you do this and you've been on the road, and a lot of these drivers that have been on the road that start moving freight, they say, well, is so and so still there? And they say, I don't know what you're talking about, or they don't know. Then you know that something's wrong with that driver, because you've been there 100 times, and you know that they're going to be passing by that, and they're going to know what you're talking about. And so then you know which drivers are giving you fluff and which drivers are truly dependent upon you, just by baiting questions and asking them questions. But the essential thing for a truck driver that's on the fence, I don't know if I want to get off the road. Look, I didn't have a choice. My feet would not allow me to be a commercial truck driver anymore.
You require your ankles, don't you?
Yeah, you got to have your ankles. When your feet don't work, guess what? The rest of you, it don't work either. So the key to this is it was either I master something that I didn't really understand, or my kids are going hungry, my family's going hungry, and I'm going to lose my home. So I had to get in there, and I said, all right, well, this is the mentality I had. I kept my truck loaded for myself. Now, if I can do that for myself, I can do it for somebody else.
Absolutely.
So how did I do that? I started making planning decisions that allowed these guys that I already knew that was driving a truck for me or driving with me to start depending upon me to help them keep their trucks loaded. Because a lot of times when I was on the road, they'd say, what you going to do? Where are you going to get your load from? Oh, I got this load already. So I had already started planning. So then I just started taking that information that I developed when I was on the road of keeping my truck loaded, and then I started incorporating it into my daily stuff. And you say, well, some of that will be considered double brokering. What you do is when you were driving a truck, you wrote down those customers' names and phone numbers so that you had to deliver to. Well, if you're a true truck driver and you've been successful in the trucking industry, you've got a Bible right in front of you that you don't even realize that you can tap into. You can pick up that phone and you can start calling all those people that you delivered freight to or that you picked up at, and you can say, look, I used to drive a truck and I used to pick up freight here and I used to deliver freight here, and now I'm in the freight business and freight agent business and providing logistics services. We work together and let me start moving your freight? When you start tapping into all the resources that you've already got, being stuff that you did when you were driving a truck, well, guess what? you're 4 steps ahead of anybody else because
Absolutely.
you've already been to where they're picking up at, where they're going to. You're developing. You already know some of the freight lanes that's significant there, and then say you're residing in Richmond, Virginia, and you're moving a lot of freight down to Tampa, Florida. Well, not only do you know somebody down there in Tampa, Florida that's a freight agent that you could possibly work with, but you've delivered to some people down there, and you might start making phone calls. Say the guy that's in Tampa, Florida, he's never moved freight so much out of Tampa, but he's just getting into it. You can start developing a relationship with that, and then you kind of start feeding your agent down there some leads and stuff. Not so much that you're giving him your customer, but you're giving him some leads to let him get up and start on getting that done. And it's all about building a relationship, and it's all about communication.
I knew you were going to get to it eventually, Brian. That's what I was waiting for you to say. Just all you have, all these old, especially for an owner-operator. I mean, you basically have a Bible there of leads, potential leads, if you're an owner-operator and you have copies of all those BOLs. So thank you for finally getting to that, Brian. Brian, are you open to a little Q&A?
Sure.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the valuable information you've shared with us so far, Brian. Really appreciate it. Q&A, guys. Any questions for Brian? Hit *6. Just go ahead and announce yourself, who you are, where you're calling from. Hit *6. Anybody is open to ask Brian any questions that you have today.
Hi, Brian. This is Margaret from Richmond.
Yes. Hey, Monica. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I was wondering, when you first started brokering, how long do you think it took for your business to take off?
Okay, Monica. This is
Margaret, and she's a beginner.
I'm sorry, Margaret.
Yeah, she's a beginner agent.
Oh,
okay, Margaret.
Brian.
This is it. I didn't have some of the struggles that you did because I was a truck owner, and I had already developed some leads there. If you're just brand new, raw, green behind the ears, whatever you want to call it, that you're inexperienced and you want to be successful, you do 2 things, okay? The first and foremost thing that you do, you're in Richmond, Virginia, I'm assuming. So what you do is you go on and you go on Google and say, who is the biggest company in Richmond, Virginia? You Google search it. Who's got the most? Where's the most jobs at?
Okay.
99% of the findings that you're going to find, they got a transportation department because they got to get their products in and they get the products out. If they're a company and they're the largest employer in town, and you start doing your research there. You find out
they got dock doors.
Exactly. And they say, well, we don't necessarily do it, but we buy, just like I reside right outside of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. That's where the Mercedes-Benz manufacturer is for the U.S. They build the M-Class, the G-Class, then you see the C-Class and stuff like that. My experience has been predominantly in the flatbed part of things. My grandfather was in the refrigerated and the dry van division. And so I'm well-rounded, well-versed in all aspects of that. And so what you do is you start developing, you're a snoop. My nickname was Nose Rose. I asked a million questions, but those million questions got me in to where I needed to be. You find out if they got a supplier, who's bringing their stuff to them. If they say, oh, it's coming in by JB Hunt or it's coming in by DHL or Schneider or
Cardinal.
UPS or whatever, it doesn't matter. Don't be discouraged. Find out, because I don't care who they are, not 100% of their freight is being handled by them. It can't be. So what you do is you get in and say, look, I'm doing this. I've got some guys that you can depend on. If you got some opportunities for me on some condition critical stuff or just in time stuff, or you get dropped, you can't find a truck, please give me a shout and give me a chance, and I'll make it worth your time and your effort, and you'll see that I can do you a good job.
So
and
for a big company, Brian, there's always room for the little guy. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
They always require some special loads that a freight broker will have access to those trucks.
Exactly. And you
Great
say, well,
point.
I don't have trucks. So what you don't have trucks? Guess what? A good friend of mine, he was a trucker. He's one of the most successful freight brokers in the state of Arkansas. And he says, don't bring a truck to me. I don't want nothing to do with the truck. I'll move freight and I'll do what I got to do. And he's a close personal friend to me. And I learned a lot from him, because when I was driving a truck, he would provide loads for me and do stuff like that. So what you do is you just, even though they say, hey, we're not allowing a broker in here right now, it's going to be an
we only use asset-based carriers or companies.
Exactly. Say, look, I may be a broker, but I have developed a relationship, and I've got these trucks that will come in. I've got a freight agent right now, and he was supposed to bring a bunch of trucks on. Well, the trucks didn't want to come on to the company, so he brokers it. He's a huge broker for Boise Cascade down in Louisiana, and he gets a tremendous amount of money. But them drivers, they trust him, and actually he makes more money by doing it that way than he would if they was leased to him. And so what you do is just like Ted said, it's about a relationship, and you'll as you start going, you're going to get a lot of people are going to say no. Don't get discouraged, because for every 5 no's you get, you're going to get 1 to 2 yeses.
Are you saying, Brian, that you're going to receive objections when you make these phone calls?
You're going to. And 9 times out of 10, I don't have time to talk to you right now. You know what? So they don't have time to talk to you. Find out who they are. Find out some stuff about them. If this is what I did when I first started, I found out who some of the biggest potential customers in my area was, and I would find out who they were. I'd find out what their hobbies were. I would find out if they had kids. Go sit at a baseball game with them. Go watch their kids. So what? Try to take. A lot of times now it's become prohibited that you can do that. You can't take them out to eat. You can't take them, stuff like that. But you know what? So you can't take a specific person that at Christmas and at Thanksgiving, take them for the whole office. Take them, fix up a small basket of chocolates and candies and whatnot, and carry it in there and say, look, I just was thinking about you guys. I wanted you to know that this is just because. I know I haven't moved any freight from you, but I want you to think about me. And you put your card in, you put several of your cards in there with it. Or I've got a company, it's called Peterbrook Chocolatiers, and they're out of Florida. They've got a chocolate mold and it says thank you, and it's the same size as a business card. I put my business card in it. I went in and I handed it. Well, what does that do? That distinguishes you from your competition in the sense of the word, I got a piece of chocolate with him. And I love chocolate fans. Where I got this from them. And it's not that you're trying to buy them. You're trying to market yourself where you stand out from the rest of the people. So they may not know who you are. When you go to buy a TV or when you go to buy a refrigerator or whatever, what drives you to the store that you buy it from? It's the way the product was marketed. It was about a price or it was about something. But something drove you through a marketing plan. So how do you market yourself? Just how does Bryan Bentley market himself? I have over 14,000 followers on LinkedIn. The reason that I'm like that is because of two things. I have a statement that I haven't faltered from. I'm a Christian. I love God. I post about God. I post about the law enforcement because Ted asked me about my father. My father was a police officer. He was killed in the line of duty. I know what it is about that. So if you'll see, a lot of my posts are about that, and I post about the transportation industry and what's going on there. And I connect with people, and I connect, and I don't go. I've got a ton of owner-operators, or BCOs, as Landstar calls them. I have a ton of those guys in there. They'll call me on the phone just to ask me advice, and I'll give it to them. I'm accessible. I don't turn an opportunity down, and I don't turn a phone call down. I don't care what it is. Your phone is your lifeline. Your internet is your lifeline. If you're on the phone and you got a million things going on, and even though you're on the phone with your best customer, and a lot of people will say, no, don't do this. But I'm telling you, if you'll do this right here, you say, hey, look, Margaret, you're my best customer, and your business is valuable to me. But I've got somebody that I don't recognize on the phone. I want them to hear my voice versus being a answering machine. Do you mind? Nobody's going to mind if you tell them like that. And you just pick up the phone and say, hey, this is Bryan Bentley. I'm with XYZ. I'd love to talk. I'm on the phone with my customer, and taking care of my customer is very imperative to my livelihood. Do you mind if I call you back in just a few minutes? I promise you I'll call you back. You write their name and their number down, and you make sure that you call them back in a few minutes, or as soon as that call is over. I don't care if you got a million things going on. You told them that you call them back. You call them back, and maybe you can't help them, but because you showed them that you cared enough to call them back, that you put your customer on hold, it does something psychologically with these people that they're going to start trusting you more. Your customers are going to know that you're trying to take care of other customers. So what does that mean to you? That means that they're going to try to monopolize your time so that you're taking care of all of their needs. And eventually, guess what? You're making what you want to make in life.
Awesome.
Because you've developed that relationship. You've shown them that you care, and you've shown them that you want to be a human factor, not a mechanical factor. Because everybody says, well, I'm being replaced by a computer. Bullshit. Excuse my French, bullshit. Yeah. Everybody wants a relationship with a human being. When you pick up the phone and you call somebody for customer service, do you want to talk to an animated service? Or do you just hit zero and say, I want to talk to a human being?
Absolutely.
And then lo and behold, let's not talk to somebody that doesn't understand English. Hey, I understand. Let's be bilingual. That's fine. But before you do anything, you want to talk to a human being on the phone, because they have that information.
Thanks for that answer. Margaret, did he answer your question for you?
Yes, thank you so much.
I'm so sorry. I can get on a roll. I don't need a stranger.
Yes, you can, but you shared so much just in that one answer. Let's go with one more question. One more question. Who's got one more question for Bryan? Hit star 6. Hit star 6. Who's got one more question for Bryan? Hey, Bryan. Looks like we're good to go. You shared such valuable piece of information today.
Hey, Ted,
and I will say this, Bryan. One of the
Do you mind if I just ask one question?
Oh, fire away. Who's talking? Where are you calling from?
This is Denny in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. Hey, Denny.
Hey, Denny. How you doing, buddy?
Good, thank you. Hey, I know that we've talked a little bit about Salt Lake being a tougher market, and, I recognize that. One of the things I've tried to do as a strategy is find
a little higher, Denny.
Some of my strategy has been to try to find some of those markets that are more difficult and try to own the freight in those, and that's something that has worked really well in my business.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Is that
So
something that you would
just
recommend,
like that, Danny. Listen, Rowley, Utah, just outside of Salt Lake, the salt mine out there. I don't know if you're doing anything with them or not, but I can tell you right now, Bryan Bentley in Tuscaloosa, Alabama knows about the salt mine in Rowley, Utah, where it's one way in and one way out. I can tell you right now there's a ton of freight opportunities coming out of that salt mine, inbound and outbound. If
What
you're
salt
not
mine
doing
is that?
anything with them, I don't remember the name of it. I went there in 2004, and I can still
I know
remember
what
it
you're
today.
talking about. I have not done business with them because I got to the point where I had, more customers than I wanted to make sure I could service them. But I was with Network FOB for about 6 years, and then they went out of business kind of suddenly,
Sure.
and that left us scrambling. So I lost 4 of my largest clients. So it is good to kind of know, because they didn't pay some drivers, and then things went crazy, and you know how all that goes.
Sure.
So I lost
Trust
some
me.
relationships on that. So I'm kind of
Uh,
rebuilding, and so that's good information. I really appreciate that, Brian.
Well, see, Network FOB put me in a world of hurt when they shut the doors down just recently.
Yeah.
To the tune of that. But also down in Salt Lake, there is some pipe companies. There's also a company down there that does some. I want to say that it was some kind of equipment, specialized equipment, and it's right off of Interstate 15, going down south of the main intersection of where 80 and 15 intersect. It's just south of there in that lower quadrant, and you see what I'm talking about. Even though I'm sitting in a conference room by myself, I can still remember these things. But you can get on I'm telling you geographically where it's at. I can't remember the name of the company, but a lot of their freight came out of there, and it went back over into Indiana, Illinois, Ohio,
Good
Pennsylvania,
really good places for
where
freight,
you can put your trucks in. They even had a 3-stopper, and it had Kentucky, Indiana, and it finalized in Ohio. And you can do that. And another thing that we didn't even key on that you can really capitalize on, because this is what I used to do a lot when I was a driver and when I was an agent, is I would put LTL loads together out of Salt Lake City. And all. So you say,
well, I built my business
this.
starting out, Brian, and not to interrupt you, but with what you're saying, I built my business for the first 4 years on moving hot tubs out of Salt Lake and California and places, and it's something where I got to the point where we're moving nearly everything for the main factories, but they were all LTL, anywhere from 2 stops to sometimes 6 or 7.
Yep.
And that was a great industry. But like I said, when FOB went out, they said, hey, we know it's not your fault, but you're associated. Some of these guys aren't going to get paid, so I'm sorry. So
you know what you do on that, in that case like that right there? All right. Yeah. They associated you with Network FOB, which tells you 2 things, okay? Tells you were doing your job because that's how they associated you. But because your company pulled the rug out from under you, you're suffering from it. So what do? Say, Ted, I got this customer here. I need your help. Can you make a phone call and let them know? And Ted is synonymous in this industry as well. So what am I telling you to do? You've already aligning yourself with another successful company, okay? So you did your job right the first time, because they associated you with Network FOB, and Network FOB put the screws to everybody. So just like Truckers Express back years ago did, to everybody. So what do? You get somebody else to go in on your behalf that's got a credible reputation and say, he's going to be my go-to man. You know who I am, or you see what I can do. You see my reputation, and you let him be your buffer to get you back in the door because it was shut, And what you've done essentially is you kind of third-partied it a little bit, but you've shown them that you're willing to think outside of the box.
It sounds like you've got that figured out, though, Denny.
Yeah, it's been, there's been some of that for sure. It's been, I think part of it is time and staying in contact with them, but there's a lot of, I'm in the meantime scrambling because, I lost kind of everyone at once,
Right.
Through the years you lose a company here and there and you replace it with someone else. So
not every company, in fact, most companies go out of business eventually. So don't think you're off in no man's land. That this is
Trust me, I've been there.
I mean, the learning curve certainly not as much, but it's the timing of it with it being towards they really stuck it to us in about end of August, so we were kind of starting at the end of the year and stuff like that. So anyway, Ted, I really appreciate this service. Again, I'm not with the company, and I've listened to a lot of your stuff online, and it's been very valuable for anyone who's their first time on this. I've probably listened to 14 or 15 of them. So
awesome.
Yeah,
thank you.
Really.
Well, anytime you have a question or you want to look. The one thing that I admire about Ted is go ahead.
Brian, if somebody has a question for you directly, how can they reach you?
Call me at area code 205-534-1234.
One more time.
Area code is 205-534-1234.
Yeah, awesome.
Or you can email me. Now, I haven't taken my emails and I haven't taken any other calls because that would be rude since I'm the guest speaker. But
no, go on.
Go on. But my email is BRYABENT, so that is Bravo Romeo Yankee Alpha, Bravo Echo November Tango, @att.net. And I will be glad to answer any questions you've got. I don't care what it is. Nothing is insignificant in this day and time. If you got a question, if I can't provide you with an answer, guess what I will do? I will make sure that I get you in touch with somebody that can answer your question.
I'm
not one that's going to let you go behind dry. If you depend upon me to get you an answer, I will get you that answer. And look, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, some of these answers are not what you're wanting to hear, but they're going to be the truth. And you're going to, because just like I told you before, and I'll leave you guys with this because I know everybody's ready to wrap things up.
Oh, yeah.
You build your relationships off of trust. You build it off of integrity and honesty. And no matter what, it's like that. And I don't care how bad the truth is. The truth is always the truth. It doesn't ever change. And so, with that being said, I'll get you the truth and I'll get you the answer, and it may not be the answer you want to hear, but it'll be the truth, and it'll be something you can bank on.
We didn't mean to.
This is really valuable to me. Thanks again, Ted.
We didn't mean to rush off like that, Denny. But boy, thanks for the question.
That was all good information. That was everything I needed.
Thanks for the question, and my hope is that Brian provided the answer for you. And Brian, again, from Cottondale, Alabama, you have been a true gift and a true pleasure joining us on the call today, Brian. Thank you so much for joining us.
Not a problem. It's like this, and I'm going to tell you guys something, and Ted will attest to this as well. When you do this and you figure out what the driving force behind it is, it's not only a job. It becomes a way of life. It becomes a lifestyle, and it becomes a passion. Just like you can tell that I'm passionate about this industry because it's something that I love, and there's two things that you got to have in this world. You got to have communication, and you got to have transportation. You guys have opted for something that you're always going to have a part of, and that's the transportation industry. Become passionate about it. Don't let it be about a job. Don't get discouraged if you don't have a good month. Wait and see, because I'm telling you, you're going to have an up and down roller coaster ride, but when it's all said and done, you're going to look back and you're going to think, man, look what I've accomplished over all these years. and what God has accomplished for me and through me. And you're going to touch so many other people's lives, and you're going to say, I'm truly blessed for what I've been able to achieve.
And
with that, I bid you guys a good day, and if you need me, give me a call, send me an email.
And never, ever, ever, ever quit, Bryan.
No.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for joining us today, Bryan Bentley, Cottondale,
God bless you.
Cottondale, Alabama. So in concluding today, I'll say it again. Do you have any questions about what Bryan went over? Anything in reference to that, or more importantly, you can see the type of value that we provide here, that I provide. Are you ready to join our top producing freight sales team? Yes? Then give me a call, Ted Keys. I'm at 626-309-9141. Thank you so much all for joining me today on my Tuesday conference call. We'll do this all again next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Take care. God bless all of you. We'll see you all again next week. Bye-bye.
You've just taken a tremendous step forward by watching and applying my Tuesday conference call highlight. Do you desire to earn and learn with our top freight team and Christian-based office? Yes? We're searching for a self-starter who's serious, motivated, and ready to take action right now. Is that you? Go to tedkeysonline.com/contacts and enter your contact details. We provide top-notch freight agent sales training to you. Then you deliver those same skills with confidence to the freight industry marketplace. I'll talk to you soon.